Microsoft is apparently planning to introduce ads into free-to-play games available on Xbox. Now, this is actually a rather interesting little subject because it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, although it almost invariably and inevitably will be a bad thing, because the video game industry has yet to find a good idea that they couldn't turn into an awful one virtually overnight. The original idea appears to be for Microsoft to build an ad program that can be integrated with their Xbox Live system. Now, Microsoft has not confirmed this, but they did respond, what was it they said? We are always looking for ways to improve the experience for players and developers, but we don't have anything further to share. Yeah. That's basically a confirmation, as considering the negative response to this that would in all due likelihood emerge, the thing you would say if you didn't have any plans is, no, of course we're not going to put ads in our games. Are you silly? That would be absurd. So yeah, it's probably happening. And that is not a new thing. In fact, I remember, and this is way back in the time of yore when dinosaurs roamed the land and video graphics were counted in pixels. But there was the idea back then that maybe the future of video games wouldn't be the $60 price tag, the premium purchase entrance, because, well, they were starting to see that a lot of countries simply couldn't afford this, and that is the problem today as well. The reason why you can't gift a game on Steam to one of your friends, for example, often, is because of various region-locked price restrictions on sales and even just straight-up restrictions from region to region. Certain regions that are considered to be poorer will be able to buy the digital product for cheaper because, well, it's a digital product, and the fact that we're still paying $60 for it in and of itself is a goddamn scam, but oh well, details. However, back then the idea was that if this price was indeed pretty exorbitant back then, and hasn't got a whole lot less exorbitant today really when you take everything into account, then maybe we can find different ways to finance our games. The idea of DLC was considered absolutely ludicrous. Also, you need to understand, the idea of free-mium, free-to-play, also wasn't really a thing that was bumping about, but one of the idea was either episodic gaming, where content would be released over time, which is what we today call early access, basically, which skipped the whole episodic part, but again, details, or in-game advertisement. I remember reading a whole article about this, basically saying that, okay, what if you've got a game, and maybe it costs only a third of the full price, maybe it's only $20, but there will be advertisement in-game. There would be billboards, there would be cans of cola standing around on desks, etc., stuff like that, you know, relatively unobtrusive shit, everything considered, seeing as it's on television and TV series, etc., all the goddamn time. And they theorized that with this kind of advertisement revenue, you might actually be able to launch a fully developed game and have it pay for itself primarily via ad revenue. Bearing in mind again that the idea of the today's online environment didn't really exist back in the day of the dial-up modem. However, here's the key thing. Whilst this is not necessarily a bad idea, I would be entirely for a game that finances part or indeed in maybe even the entirety, although that's going to be difficult, but its development cost via advertisement. That could be pretty cool. But what are the games they're placing this on? Well, Fortnite, Warframe, Apex Legends, and War Thunder, Enlisted, World of Warships Legends. These are free-to-play games that aren't exclusive to Xbox, of course, and that already have a freemium economy. You can buy skins, you can buy boats and vehicles and stuff in the case of World of Warships and War Thunder. These are games that already engage in the freemium economy. In other words, they see you as the walking wallet that you are, and they wish to extract money out of you by introducing certain gameplay elements like grind, for example, or in the case of War Thunder, access to basic ammunition. Oh god, War Thunder. I want to love you so much, but you do make it very, very difficult. Anywho, the point is, These games already have an economy. They already have a way to finance themselves and to finance their development, and this economy is built into the game. It is an intrinsic part of it, as is unavoidable whenever you introduce any sort of premium items into a game. It will inevitably introduce a reason for the player to purchase that premium item. Otherwise, it's pointless. And anytime you hear a video game executive go, "Oh, no, you see, we are opening up options, choice, you can choose to purchase things in-game." No. Just like you are not allowed the option to pick up and walk out of the supermarket with a bundle of food. You theoretically have the option, but it ain't gonna happen, at the very least not without a lot of shouting and screaming, etc. These are things that transform the game itself invariably, and so when you then introduced ads on top of that freemium economy, all you're doing is allowing Microsoft essentially to double dip. Though, interestingly, because here's one of those devil's advocate points, right? Microsoft haven't claimed themselves, but the leakers have suggested that Microsoft is not intending to take a cut from any of this. Rather, any advertisement revenue generated will be divided between the creators of the game and the advertisement company, which at first glance seems a little bit strange. Like, why would Microsoft pass up free money? That seems weird. They're not. Here's the thing, they're already gaining money by gaining access to your information, which they in turn sell. Now they're claiming that they're totally not going to use this from Xbox Live, they're totally not going to take your data from that and use it to boost the advertisement revenue of their new partners. Which I'll believe when I goddamn see it in writing in 10-foot tall letters emblazoned across the sky, but oh well, details. And it might also simply be a short-term strategy, where Microsoft goes, okay, we're not going to do anything now because we want to grow the infrastructure of free-to-play games. We want to appear more promising to other developers. We want to bring them over here and maybe even sign some sort of exclusivity deal, which would be very difficult to achieve with the free-to-play game under normal circumstances, because a part of the reason why they're free-to-play is, of course, to extract as wide and massive an audience as possible, so that they can extract as much money from as many people as possible. Duh. But if this system grows large enough, influential enough, and profitable enough, suddenly the idea of exclusivity not only becomes possible, but you might also be introducing a bit of an element of extra gains right there. Of course, Microsoft's going to be taking a little bit of a cut of the microtransaction, probably. This is not a charity, of course. And eventually they'll start, maybe leaking a little bit of data here and there. Like, hey, you know what, War Thunder? We've seen that this player he's gone into a lot of other ads. He's clicked on these ads before, therefore maybe you should show him these ads. Just a wink and a nudge right there. Because here's the problem. As much as I do not necessarily mind the idea of ads in games so long as they're unobtrusive, and to be fair, in certain titles it makes a lot of sense, like in car racing games or sports games, to have sponsorships on various billboards around the track, etc. Makes sense. And even in a first-person shooter, seeing like a can of Pepsi or Coke somewhere on the screen is not going to shatter your immersion immediately. But the issue is that this is already just an opportunity to double dip. The games are not being created specifically around this premise. In fact, they already have their own economies, which you can be damn sure they're not going to get rid of for advertisement revenue. And so you have both the potential for intrusive ads alongside the usually and naturally intrusive elements of a free-to-play economy, which in all due likelihood is only going to get worse over time as Microsoft begins to realize that they can always squeeze just a little bit harder. So that tends to be the course of the video game industry. Again, it's one of those good ideas in theory, that will never actually be utilized to the benefit of the players, but be used to the benefit of the platform. Not to mention as well, Microsoft has been dipping their feet into a lot of different ponds as of late, including of course the attempted acquisition of Blizzard, which is still, undergoing some investigation, but in all due likelihood, they're gonna get away with it. Now, imagine, for example, the scenario where they're sitting on Warcraft 4. Major, massive title that is going to sell like nobody would believe, regardless of how awful it might seem, a la Warcraft 3 Reforged, for example. Or even worse, World of Warcraft 2. And then they say, hey, we're gonna help get some development going here with in-game advertisement. And by doing this, we can waive a portion of, say, a subscription fee, or we can lower the price by $10. They can absolutely spin this into a positive for the consumer by, well, spinning it. Knocking $10 off the price of Warcraft 4 is not going to cost them anything in comparison to the sheer quantity of advertisement they could rake in on a title like that. Offering an advertisement company the opportunity to put ads in a title like Warcraft 4 or World of Warcraft, one of these great legends that have literally created the PC gaming scene, would be like offering them a Super Bowl slot. You would not have a shortage of bidders, to put it rather mildly. And it would also give Microsoft a tremendous amount of influence in the advertisement market, which up until this point has basically been completely and utterly dominated by Google. Now, there are some benefits to be had there as well. Whenever our corporate overlords fight, there might be an opportunity for us mere peasants to reap a benefit or two as they compete with one another. But when we're trying to talk about this scale, we're starting to encroach upon war territory, where very few of us peasants tend to benefit in the case of a shooting war. Anyhow, what do you guys think? In-game advertisement. From two scenarios. Bearing in mind, if it is not obtrusive at all, it's just literally advertisement billboards over there, you don't even have to look at it. It's somewhere, up in the middle distance. Would you mind that? And simultaneously, do you believe that it would stop at that? Excuse me as I poison the well there a little bit, but I doubt it will, yet at the same time there are some strategic benefits to at least temporarily keep the absurdity of it all in check. Until next time, I've been Art. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.